This teddy bear might look a little strange or even slightly scary, but believe me, the real horror is in what I'm about to tell you. In 1991, in New York City, police discovered a brutal multiple murder: a woman, her young daughter, and an elderly couple. The details were bizarre and terrifying, especially since the story's ending made everything even more complicated and illogical. The police revealed they had arrested a mentally disturbed man who killed his wife, daughter, and 10 neighbors by stabbing them in the neck and other body parts. He claimed the teddy bear he bought for his wife's birthday was the one who actually committed the murders. Welcome to Beyond the Shadows, where forgotten places, strange stories, and eerie mysteries come to light. Join us as we step into the unknown, one shadow at a time. David, who was 36 years old at the time, said the crime happened on his wife's 29th birthday. As was their tradition, they were celebrating with their 6-year-old daughter. He had prepared a cake with the number 29 on it and placed it on the table next to the teddy bear he bought as a gift. He mentions the first strange detail. When he bought the bear from a gift shop, it had round bandage-like stickers over its eyes. When he asked the shopkeeper about them, the man replied that it was just part of the bear's design, but then warned him with a sinister laugh, "Don't you dare think about removing those stickers no matter what." David thought this was just a joke. As he was setting up the cake and bear on the table before calling his wife in, he removed the stickers from the bear's eyes. He then blindfolded his wife and led her to the table. When he removed the blindfold and she saw the cake, she let out a blood-curdling scream and collapsed to the floor. David looked at the table and saw that the knife he placed next to the cake was now in the teddy bear's hand, as if it were a real person. Even worse, the bear's eyes were moving in a horrifying 360-degree rotation like a human's. Terrified, David started screaming too. At that exact moment, their daughter opened her bedroom door, frightened by the screams. When she saw her mother on the floor, she ran to her without thinking. David ran to the kitchen to find something to help his wife, but when he returned, he saw a horrific scene: his wife and daughter lying on the floor while the teddy bear stabbed them repeatedly with the knife. David says he was convinced this was just a nightmare. He kept pinching himself to wake up, but nothing happened. The bear continued stabbing his daughter and wife while he stood watching helplessly. He tried to run to help them, but found there seemed to be some invisible solid barrier between him and them. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't reach them. He would run back and charge at full speed only to hit this unseen wall. While this was happening, there was banging at the apartment door. David opened it to find his elderly neighbor and his wife, who had come to check on the screams. Still in shock, David couldn't speak and could only point. The old man and his wife went to see what he was pointing at while David went back to the kitchen looking for something to help. In the kitchen, all he found were some vegetables his wife had been chopping and a knife nearby. He grabbed the knife and ran back out, only to find a full-blown massacre. The elderly couple now lay on the floor near his wife and daughter's bodies, with blood covering the entire scene in a horrifying way, while the teddy bear continued stabbing them. Acting on instinct, David ran screaming hysterically and used the knife in his hand to slash at the teddy bear's arm that was holding the murder weapon, cutting it off. David says the moment this happened, the bear lifted its head and gave him a terrifying look before looking back down and closing its eyes as if it had died. At this point, David lost consciousness and didn't wake up until he was in police custody. When David came to, he thought everything had just been a nightmare and nothing had really happened. But he discovered he was under arrest, accused of murdering his wife, daughter, and 2 elderly neighbors. The police had broken into the apartment and found him unconscious on the floor with the knife in his hand next to the bodies. After telling his story, David was sent to a psychiatric hospital. But the strange thing police discovered during their investigation was that David worked as an engineer at Microsoft, one of the biggest companies in the world, a position that would be impossible to get without being highly competent. His closest friends described him well-liked and extremely psychologically stable. The investigation also revealed that David deeply loved his wife and daughter. There was no logical motive for him to do this. Even the hospital's psychiatric evaluation confirmed his mental health was sound. While he was formally charged with premeditated murder, he insisted his story about the teddy bear was true. Police began investigating the shopkeeper David mentioned. Strangely, while the gift shop address David gave was real and had been owned by someone matching his description, that man had been dead for 22 years and the shop had been closed since his death. Even weirder, David described the man's exact appearance and even the clothes he was wearing that day, which matched photos found in the deceased man's home. The police made another chilling discovery. This shopkeeper had been murdered by stabbing, and his case remained unsolved due to lack of evidence. In the end, David was sentenced to death and executed. But sometime later, the case was reclassified from a murder case to a supernatural case after something bizarre happened. The teddy bear, which had been kept as evidence in police storage, was found with its severed arm miraculously reattached. Even stranger, its eyes, which had been open, were now completely shut, as if designed that way. Paranormal investigators and specialists became involved and announced something terrifying, that the teddy bear was possessed by the spirit of the murdered shopkeeper, who had chosen the bear as a vessel to take revenge on humans in the same way he had been killed. They concluded David's story was 100% true. In the end, the bear was destroyed using special rituals, and it was declared that the curse had finally ended. So what do you think? Does this story seem logical to you? Or is it just an urban legend? Tell us in the comments and subscribe for more.